Hello and welcome to Iron Dinos. I'm Shaun, and if you listen to this week's podcast, this should not come as any kind of surprise. Infernax drops onto Xbox Game Pass on Valentine's Day the 14th. I started playing it the weekend after. I have not stopped playing it since. I'm just about to head on to my third playthrough, and this is just an absolute delight. Now, it doesn't take a lot for me to decide if I'm going to like a game, and this kind of thing is pretty much an immediate sign that we're going to get on, because this is the first thing I did in my first playthrough. Cut a little bit there, but just the fact that this guy keeps talking to you and keeps having different things to say, and eventually he sods off. And yeah, the first thing you can do in the game is argue with the guy argue with the dude who's driving the boat, who's brought you here, and then you can die. But I also wanted to show off that little screen there, because that is what happens when you die. There is no... there is a life system. You can see that 0 in the top left-hand corner. You gain some as you go along. But yeah, basically, if you die, you go back to your last checkpoint and you lose all of your progress. Because this is... well, I was going to say it's styled very much after the NES kind of games, but not only that, it's very specifically styled after Castlevania 2, only this is actually really good. So you've already seen a couple of the mechanics. These are your basics. You're going to run around on a lovely 2D plane. You're going to see all kinds of monsters and horrors. There's going to be an increased focus on platforming as the game goes on. And you're going to have to kill a lot of stuff. But there's also stuff like this. What are you going to do? I wanted to be an altruistic hero. It didn't end well. Yeah, so this is the kind of thing you can expect. Really nice, really big, really twisted sprites. I mean, it kind of looks like it's got a bit of chicken in there. Obviously, it's got like an extra skull head. An extra skull face. It's got like some people crucified on top of it. It's belching fire, and this is all, as far as I'm concerned, this is all kinds of awesome. And when you're playing this part of the game, this is basically one of the first things you face. How many games do that? It's like, yeah, here's a boss. Good luck. Thumbs up. Hope you make it. But and it explodes in a massive shower of viscera, and someone notices and takes note. Now, I'll show a bit more a little later. This game actually has something of a morality meter, and it's not a morality meter in the way that, say, Fable had a morality meter, and the main changes are people call you a dickhead in the street, or they praise the very ground you walk on. No. In this game, it changes the story, and it changes the enemies you fight, and it changes how you fight them. And there are, to my knowledge, 5 different endings. I'm not going to spoil what they are. There are probably 6, actually, but I know there's at least 5 different endings. I'm not going to spoil what they are. Through, I would say, mostly lucky choices, I got the ultimate good ending first time. That's just the way I kind of like to play things. I do like to play games good at first, because it always feels like you get more gold for being evil, but more experience for being good. And this is heavily dependent. I'll show it off shortly. This is also heavily dependent on gaining experience. Those little numbers aren't just for show. That 25 there, that is showing you the experience you're gaining for killing that particular monster. As you can see, there's also money in this that comes into play, which we'll be seeing shortly. We're going to head straight to the first village, and yeah, this is kind of the game. This is this little is almost still the intro. It's still giving you a good idea of what you're going to get when you play this thing, because the challenge ramps up and the platforming. I'll show some of the harder platforming in a bit, but the platforming does get harder, but mostly this is what you're doing, and this is incredibly satisfying to play, because there's that slight delay on the actual hit, which is not there for the jump, you'll be pleased to know. But when you tap the hit button, there's a slight delay, and that makes that, coupled with the lovely meaty sound effects, really feel impactful. There you go, I've actually just increased my power, so I'll now hit harder. You can also do health, as you might imagine. That puts a little extra red square at the top. Mana, extra blue square. Simple. So at this point the town isn't open because we're still very early in the game. We're still... This is basically... I wouldn't say the plot. There's more plot that you get as you go through the game. But this... a lot of what I show here at the start is basically giving the majority of the plot that isn't given through kind of flavour text and the likes of that, and the quests that you get from the townsfolk. So we've stitched him up. It's a thing I noticed really early on that I absolutely loved. So that monster just barfed on me, and like all of the goo is still there, and you'll see that. You'll have seen it so far actually. When you're mashing down enemies and stuff, the blood will stick to you to a little while. You just walk around with like this blood and gore coming off you. So I'm just showing off here. This is one of the first quests you'll get. She basically says she's got a husband. As you can see there, you can just go under the level. So you go see him. He's got a problem. She's begged for your aid. And she gives you a hint as to how to cure him, which I'm not going to spoil, but that one's a bit tricky because it's really late game that you actually figure out how to do that. So first thing I'm going to buy here is a flask. Here's another mechanic coming up. That holds your potions. And that dude, all he ever says is "it's a living" while he shovels shit. There are different kind of potions as you go through the game. The health potions will always be free. He gives you a bottle with the first one, and as you saw, I just bought one, so I've got two. Here's another part of the good and evil thing. So here's a friendly priest. Would you like to donate to the poor? Yes. Yes, I would. But you can also choose to do that. And he has a different bit of dialogue. If you just went straight and hit it, he had one bit of dialogue. If you don't hit it, obviously you've seen the dialogue. And yeah, it changes depending on what you do. So I thought there's a bit more plot after that. I thought I'd show off the first dungeon. So this is the point where the game and the difficulty really starts to ramp up. As you might imagine, all of that lava there is insta-kill. The spikes that come down aren't, but they hit like a ton of bricks. And we're very, very early in the game. As you can see, I've upgraded my health a little bit there, because unless you want to grind right from the start of the game, it's pretty difficult. Like, when I was going through, not my second playthrough, but when I was starting my third playthrough, obviously I've beaten it on maximum good, so I've got everything. I've got all the upgrades, and you know, I'd maxed my character out completely. And then there's a second playthrough I did. So then coming back to this, coming back to the initial state that you have to play the game in, it's still quite tough. It's all about, as you might imagine, It's very fair. It's all about learning patterns. It's one of those games that you will die, especially in the platforming later on. You'll die quite a lot, and you'll sit and you'll kick yourself because it's not really the game's fault. The game is giving you a difficult challenge, don't get me wrong, but you will feel that little rage inside yourself every time where you see what you did wrong and why you cocked that up. There's nothing so tricky that it's not there's nothing in it so tricky that it feels unfair in any way, shape or form. There's bits that are intentionally set in a particular way to put your nerves on edge. Like there's a bit where you use those falling spikes you saw earlier. You use those quite a lot as platforms. That little jump there is because I was running low on health, so I nipped back to the save point to save that I'd got the key before tackling the rest of the dungeon and the nice meaty boss at the end of it. But anyway, so obviously you can't stand on top of those. They've got spikes on top, but most of them only have spikes on the lower side and use them as platforms. And there's a bit later on where that's falling, so you need to jump off it when it's near the top. But there's like a wall in front of you, so you need to fall and glide just long enough till you're past this wall before using a later ability to leap upwards to get to the safety of the platform. That's not hard. It's not laid out. It's laid out in a slightly challenging way, but it's not laid out in an unfair way. But it is laid out in a way to jangle your nerves, to really make you think, oh Christ, I've gone too far, or oh no, I've not jumped far enough. It is there to psychologically taunt you and make you trip up. It's really fun. It's really, really fun. And I never got sick of it. Like, I don't mind a challenge in a game anyway. I'm not going to pretend I'm the best gamer, but there is a point there is a point if something is too darn hard or bullshit hard that I will maybe turn it off for a little while. Never with this. With this, there were some points where I was shouting at my controller in my own stupid monkey hands, but I pressed the button to start again, and I ran back through it, and I spent quite some time in some of the temples because I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to go grind or anything. I wanted to level up as the game progressed. We've got a slightly trickier enemy now. This one can duck as well as do a straightforward attack. But it's all, like, everything. It's almost, I think you could almost call it a negative against the bosses, though I don't really think so because their health is high enough to compensate. But pretty much everything has a limited attack pattern. And it's just about learning those patterns and learning what it's going to do and countering it. Now, I'll make this look relatively easy because I've fought this boss many, many times. I actually think he's a really fun-looking thing. I love the design work on all of this. I should probably mention this before we get much further. The design work on this is absolutely fantastic. Getting so much out of a retro style. Like they're going for like an 8-bit kind of style, and they get so much out of it, so much detail. And I know they're working on. I know you wouldn't have got this out of the NES, but I still think this is absolutely stunning. And the music is absolutely gorgeous. Like, I don't know what. Very strangely, of all things, this reminds me of the first chunks of The Messenger more than anything else. They used a similar 8-bit style in a beautiful way, and I guess Shovel Knight as well. But that's the end of the first castle. That's to show you the kind of he's covered in blood. That's to show you the kind of visceral combat and thing. See how easy it looks? It's not as easy as it looks, but it's also fairly challenging. But that's not all. This has more to show you. This has more surprises. This has Contra mode. I showed you the start screen again. That's your hint how to unlock this. You know what it is. Go do it. But yeah, this was my second playthrough because there's an achievement that basically hints at what you need to do, and I did it, and I'm like, this is literally the greatest thing. I actually, as bad as it sounds, I actually prefer this mode because I'm a really big fan of Contra. And it also makes a lot of it significantly easier as well. Like at the top there, you see you've got 30 lives. It's not, the lives count don't work in the same way. When you get, you'll see this is significantly easier, by the way, this time. When you've still got upgrades, but they're changed. Like one of them is a floor attack. And the floor attack will cause fire everywhere. Well, with this guy, it's now grenades downwards, so... Look, I can't speak highly enough about this game. Go play Infernax. It's fucking brilliant.